Last week we started off with Saturn ingressing back into Pisces. This week we're starting off with an eclipse. If you're looking for someone to be an echo chamber of doom, then you've got the wrong disembodied voice. These astrological events aren't something to fear, and I surely won't be partaking in the mongering. I've got too much Sagittarian optimism for that kind of thing. Plus, the only thing my Aries moon fears is my own temper. So, if these events aren't to be feared, then what is their purpose? Well, let's find out in today's forecast. But first, a word from our sponsor. Nothing like the silence of freedom and not being beholden to anyone's whims but fate itself. You guys know this podcast is patron funded, so thank you patrons for supporting my work and generally being the coolest. If you're not into subscribing to patron content, you can still be a supporter by liking, rating, reviewing, and just generally sharing the podcast. We recently got a really funny review on Apple Podcasts, so thank you to anyone who takes the time out of their day to help the podcast grow and just be nice to me. All right, now on to the forecast. If you're listening in real time, then the Pisces full moon eclipse is in full effect right here, right now. I'm not getting into the minutia of the eclipse here, as that's something I do for my patrons in their lunar horoscopes, which you guys should have received those last week, so make sure you dive into them if you haven't. But I still want to touch on what an eclipse indicates astrologically, just because it's good to know. In ancient astrology, eclipses were omen bringers. They were known to reveal secrets and cause upheavals. They were also used to indicate natural disasters and interesting happenings or shifts when it came to war and politics. I suppose you could still use them for that kind of thing, but I tend to take a more personal view of astrology, not a political or worldview kind of orientation. That's super interesting and it's very valid. I'm just more focused on personal empowerment and what's within my control when it comes to astrology, and that's my stoic background and outlook that informs my astrological lens. So you could use this for war, politics, and natural disasters. I just personally don't. So yeah, eclipses, they're omen bringers. And to understand eclipses in their entirety, you have to understand the lunar nodes. Once again, I'm not getting into that here because it's a whole thing with its own myths and significations. I do have a class that you can take with me to learn about the lunar nodes, but in its essence, the lunar nodes make lunar events unstable and cause them to be omen bringers. That's what causes the omen bringer status. Since eclipses were said to predict natural disasters and the turning tides of war, we can assume that this energy is also going to take place for us within our personal life, but on a much smaller scale. I don't think someone is going to have a hurricane following them and only them, but I do think that eclipses can bring upheavals and reveal information within our personal lives. The flavor of these upheavals and the secrets, well, that's going to depend on the realm of Pisces and what area of life it rules for you. Again, my patrons receive personalized horoscopes for this kind of thing, so consider signing up for that if you want a curated experience. The eclipse energy is being compounded by Saturn being back in Pisces. While this eclipse is Jupiter ruled, Saturn being co-present in the same sign means that we're needing to get serious, create boundaries, or keep one foot planted while we continue to explore, grow, and expand. One of the big things I stressed in my lunar horoscopes for this eclipse is that it's a mutable event. Whatever is revealed to us, we need to make sure we keep moving, pivoting, and not impeding the flow of the energy at hand. This is literally a just keep swimming kind of eclipse. Pisces is mutable, and that fish needs to keep swimming regardless of what waves the eclipse makes. Don't be afraid to change or take things in a new direction, but also know that the direction you do go is going to have staying power because Saturn is back in Pisces and it's urging us to make rational, deliberate, responsible choices. The eclipse energy has been at play since around Friday, I'll say, peaking today, Sunday, September 7th, and it's going to wane over the next couple of days. While the waves that the eclipse is making are going to smooth out, the choices we make are going to continue on, and that's because of, you guessed it, Saturn making us keep one foot in reality. Since this eclipse is in the Pisces-Virgo axis, you might have a battle between daydreams and reality, anxiety and escapism, or creativity and perfection. Use the information and energy revealed to you during this time as a means to further solve this puzzle and reconcile these two areas of life. After the eclipse chills out, the rest of the week is pretty smooth, which honestly, loving that for us because we're going to need a minute to get our bearings, shake off our sea legs, and just go about our business as usual once again. As you're going through the week, remember what you changed or committed to within the realm of Pisces. With Saturn being there for a couple more months, the eclipse really feels like the shot in the ass that we all need when it comes to working through the lessons of Saturn. It's like Saturn came back into Pisces, and then a week later, the eclipse happened, and it was like, hey guys, wake up, I'm here, this is what's going on, get your shit together. So even though the rest of the week is going to be chill, there is one more important astrological event taking place, and that's a Mercury Cazimi. Mercury is meeting up with the sun at 20 degrees of Virgo on Saturday. Now, Ketu, the south node, will be present for this event, which does take its toll on Mercury and the sun. This might not be as intense of a Cazimi for some people, and it might honestly be a really mentally draining weekend or one where you feel like you have a lot of little things to do. Our minds are going to be sharp and on point, but we're going to feel a little drained nonetheless. This doesn't have to be in a negative way. It's just there's a lot to do. There's a lot of moving pieces. We have to keep organized. Try not to let the stress from earlier in the week that the eclipse caused get the best of you, because you'll likely have to make up for it come the weekend. The saving grace of the Cazimi is that Jupiter is giving goodness via a sextile to the sun and Mercury. We'll be able to get it all done. Like I said, there's a lot to do, but we will be able to get everything done that we need to. But Ketu is going to be making it feel like a slog at times, or like the to-do list is seemingly never ending. Try to make use of this energy this weekend by getting a lot done and then recouping mentally if the eclipse drained you at all. My motto for Jupiter in Cancer has been growing pains, and that still stands. Jupiter is tangentially involved in all the important aspects and events of this week. The eclipse is going to bring growing pains. The Cazimi is going to bring growing pains. But I have a feeling the Cazimi is going to be a mental shift, where the eclipse is going to be more of an intuitive, spiritual, or emotional shift. It's more of a subconscious thing. All of this energy is mutable or cardinal, because Jupiter is cardinal right now. But it's not fixed. It's not fixed in nature. None of these big players are in a fixed sign. So if there's one thing that I can recommend for navigating the events of this week, it's that we need to remember to pivot and not impede the flow of energy. We need to remain loose. Do your stretches. Stay loosey-goosey. And you need to stay loose, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We need to remain open to change and just, once again, stay loose. Keep things moving at all costs, even if that means you have to circle the metaphorical block a few times before getting a parking space. It's better than sitting idle and blocking traffic. Thank you for tuning in to this week's forecast. If you want a more detailed look at what this week's astro weather holds for you personally, go to my website, moonmattersastrology.com, and sign up to receive my zine. You can also find me on Patreon by searching for Moon Matters. The best way to keep up to date with my work or to book a reading with me is to sign up for my mailing list on my website. I'll meet you back here next week, but until next time, later days.